Welcome back to My Mind MashUps. We're doing another deep dive today.
That's right. We're exploring the human mind, looking at the science, the psychology, and maybe a bit of personal reflection too.
And our mission, as always, is to give you that shortcut to being really well informed about some pretty cool topics. Today, it's lyrics that heal, the psychology behind music and emotion.
Yeah, we're digging into how music, those notes and words, aren't just entertainment. They actually shape our inner worlds in profound ways.
That's something we all feel, right? Music moves us. But what's really going on upstairs when a song gives you chills or makes you tear up? It's clearly more than just sound hitting your ears. The science points to this, well, almost like a neurological concert.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just the auditory cortex lighting up. Music activates nearly the entire brain. Think of it like a full brain workout.
A workout, okay.
Yeah, it strengthens neural pathways, involves regions that handle vital functions, and crucially, our emotions.
So the whole system gets involved. What are some of the key areas, like the surprising ones maybe?
Well, let's start with the emotional core, your amygdala. Think of it as the brain's immediate emotional responder.
Okay.
Music hits it, and bam, it influences how you feel. Happy, sad, anxious. But what's really fascinating is how it partners with the hippocampus, the memory hub.
Ah, memory. That makes sense.
Right. They work together to basically wire emotional memories to specific songs. That's why hearing a tune can just instantly pull you back to a moment and you feel it all over again.
Yeah, that totally happens. And that shiver you get sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that part of the same system? It feels almost, well, addictive.
That's the reward system kicking in. Specifically, the nucleus accumbens, or NANAC.
NANAC. What?
When you hear music you love, especially those parts that give you chills, the NANAC releases dopamine. Pure pleasure.
Ah, dopamine, the feel-good chemical.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. The dopamine release often starts before the peak moment hits. It's anticipation.
Really? So my brain knows the good part is coming.
Precisely. It's rewarding you for anticipating the pleasure. That's a big reason we love re-listening to favorite songs, why that opening riff gets us excited. It's tapping into reward pathways similar to, well, other pleasurable things. Shows you how powerful music is.
Wow. Okay, so my brain's basically pre-gaming the enjoyment. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What about the thinking parts, the understanding?
That's where the prefrontal cortex, the PFC, comes in. Higher level thought, emotional regulation. Interestingly, the left PFC seems more involved with positive musical emotions, the right with negative.
Huh. A left-right split.
Yeah. And zooming out a bit, the whole limbic system, which includes the amygdala and hippocampus, is buzzing when we perceive music, processing emotions and memories.
And lyrics. Words must bring in other areas, too.
Absolutely. Your language centers, Broca's and Wernicke's areas get involved. Broca's helps integrate the words with the melody. Wernicke's helps decode the meaning, the story in the song.
So it's like this incredible orchestra of brain regions. And then there are the chemicals, too, right? The neurotransmitters.
Oh, definitely. We mentioned dopamine, that's the big reward one. But music also nudges serotonin, linked to happiness and focus.
Okay.
And oxytocin, often called the love hormone. Listening to music, especially socially, can boost oxytocin, contributing to bonding and well-being.
And stress. Does it help there?
Big time. Research shows music can lower levels of cortisol, the main stress hormone. So yes, it's a genuine stress reliever.
That's huge. But you mentioned memory earlier. This idea that music doesn't just trigger memories, but might actually rewrite them.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? That sounds kind of sci-fi.
It does sound a bit like that, but there's solid research. Studies show if you pair emotionally charged music with recalling, say, a neutral story, the music can actually change the emotional flavor of that remembered story later on.
Change the flavor, how?
So if you recall something while listening to happy music, you might later remember that event more positively than you originally did. Sad music, potentially more negatively. And these effects can linger for days. It's not just bringing back old feelings. It seems to involve increased connectivity between the amygdala, frontal areas, even visual cortex during that music-paired recollection. It's actively tweaking the memory trace.
So the therapeutic potential for trauma, for instance.
Exactly. It's a really exciting area. Imagine pairing calming music while carefully working through a stressful memory in therapy. Over time, it might help lessen the emotional sting, building resilience. It's about reframing past experiences.
That's incredibly powerful. Music as an active editor of our internal stories.
Yeah.
And this shaping process starts early, doesn't it?
Critically early. There's this concept of a sensitive period in development, roughly ages 12 to 22.
Teen years, basically.
Right. During this time, music exposure has a really significant impact on shaping the medial prefrontal cortex, the MPFC.
And that's important because?
Because the MPFC is vital for emotional regulation in adulthood, especially how we handle stress.
Right.
There seems to be a causal link. Early music experiences help build the neural architecture for lifelong emotional well-being.
So music education isn't just a nice to have, it's potentially foundational for mental health.
You could definitely argue that. It's an investment in their future coping skills.
Okay, so beyond the neurons and chemicals, let's talk psychology. Nostalgia is a huge one with music, isn't it? That reminiscence bump.
Oh, absolutely. Music is probably the #1 trigger for nostalgia. And that reminiscence bump refers to that same period, about 12, 22.
The sensitive period again?
Exactly. The brain's developing rapidly, we're figuring out who we are, and the music we listen to then gets, well, deeply embedded. It's wired into our sense of self.
So it becomes part of our identity.
Totally. That's why your high school playlist can feel so potent, or why a song like Adele's Someone Like You hits so many people with such personal, nostalgic force. It taps into universal experiences from that formative time.
And it's not just our feelings. Music can make us catch emotions too, right? Like emotional contagion.
Yeah, just like you might absorb a friend's anxiety if they sound stressed, music can induce emotions that mirror what's perceived in the music. Sad song, you feel sadder. Upbeat song, you feel happier. It's a direct transfer, almost.
How does that work? Is it empathy? Mirror neurons.
Mirror neurons likely play a role. These are brain cells that fire both when we do an action and when we see someone else do it. Music seems to engage these systems, impacting empathy, learning, even motor skills.
So music is a universal language.
Yeah.
It actually helps us feel with others.
It seems so. It can build connection even without shared words. You hear a beat from another culture, you start moving. That's a form of connection, of shared feeling, facilitated by the music.
And this connects to those really vivid personal memories. Music triggers, memes, right?
Music evoked autobiographical memories, yes. These are super common, often pop up involuntarily. You hear a song, and suddenly you're right back in a specific moment, feeling all the associated emotions.
Are they stronger than other memory triggers?
Research suggests yes. People often rate memes as more emotionally intense and more important to their life story than, say, memories triggered by food or smells. It underlines music's unique power, especially useful in contexts like dementia care, where music can unlock memories that seem lost. Think Fleetwood Mac's Landslide, powerful trigger for many.
You feel so universal.
Yeah.
But is the emotional response the same everywhere, or is it shaped by culture?
That's a key question. There's nuance there. Some basic responses, like faster tempo, often feeling more energetic, or harmony versus dissonance might have some universal roots. But the meaning, the depth of the emotion, the specific interpretation, that's heavily influenced by your culture, your personal history, the associations you've learned.
So my happy song might not be someone else's happy song.
Exactly. Or it might be happy for both, but for different reasons or with different shades of meaning. Some even argue music doesn't contain emotion itself, it just evokes it through these learned associations.
Interesting. So it's an interaction.
Very much so. It highlights why context is so vital in things like music therapy or just understanding each other across cultures. The universal language has many, many dialects.
Okay, so music clearly shapes us neurologically and psychologically. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about its power to actively heal. This brings us to music therapy.
Great. And music therapy isn't just putting on some calming tunes, though that can help. It's a clinical, evidence-based practice using music interventions guided by a trained therapist to achieve specific therapeutic goals.
What kinds of goals? Mental health seems like a big one.
Definitely. It's incredibly effective for mental health. It helps people relax, process difficult emotions non-verbally, reduce anxiety and symptoms of depression, manage stress, improve mood.
Yeah. Does it go back to the cortisol reduction?
That's part of it, but it also provides a safe outlet. Think about songwriting and therapy. Someone can take their pain or confusion and shape it into lyrics, into music. It's empowering and can make overwhelming feelings more manageable. It bypasses the need to find the right words sometimes.
That makes sense. What about physical applications? You mentioned pain.
Yeah, surprisingly effective for pain management. It works on multiple levels, partly distraction, shifting focus away from the pain signal,
Right.
but also by promoting relaxation, which can reduce muscle tension often associated with pain. Studies show benefits for various types, from post-surgical pain to chronic conditions, sometimes even reducing the need for medication.
Wow. And trauma? PTSD.
Yes, it's a recognized approach for PTSD and anxiety. Music can help soothe the nervous system, activate those reward centers we talked about, and help people regain a sense of control over their physiological arousal.
Are there specific techniques?
There are. Group drumming, for example, can foster connection and release tension. Some therapies, like certain forms of EMDR, even use bilateral sound alternating sounds in each ear, which seems to help process traumatic memories held in the amygdala.
And physical rehab. You mentioned motor functions earlier.
Hugely beneficial there too. Rhythmic auditory stimulation, or RAS, uses rhythm to help improve gait and movement in patients recovering from stroke, brain injury, or conditions like Parkinson's.
Using the beat to help retrain movement.
Essentially, yes. The predictable rhythm provides external cues that help organize motor output. It can also improve things like alertness and cognitive function during recovery. And remember that story about Jimmy?
The boy who started walking to Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, that's a perfect, if anecdotal, example of how music's rhythm and, frankly, joy can motivate physical recovery in ways other things might not. Can't stop the feeling. Literally helped him move.
That's incredible. Doesn't matter if you're actively making music versus just listening in therapy.
Big difference, generally. Active engagement, improvising, playing an instrument, songwriting often leads to deeper results.
Why is that?
It fosters agency. You're not just receiving, you're creating, expressing, problem solving. It helps build coping skills and a sense of control, which is crucial for healing. Passive listening has its place, of course, but active participation often takes it further.
So it's really hitting multiple levels: mood, thinking, body, even social connection. A truly holistic approach.
Exactly. Music doesn't target just one thing. It engages so many different systems simultaneously, which is why it can be such a powerful tool for overall well-being. It encourages us to think about medicine more broadly.
These stories really drive home the point. Music isn't just background noise, it's a potent force. And we can actually use it deliberately in everyday life too, can't we? For mood, focus.
Absolutely. Most of us do it intuitively, right? Put on upbeat music to get energized or something mellow to wind down.
Yeah.
But you can be more strategic. There's this idea, borrowing from therapy principles like DBT, of starting where you are. If you're feeling down, don't just force yourself to listen to happy music immediately. That can feel jarring. Instead, maybe start with something more melancholic that resonates with your current state. Validate the feeling.
Okay, lean into it first.
Right. And then gradually shift the playlist towards more uplifting or calming tracks. It's a way to gently guide your mood. Making personalized emotional regulation playlists can be really effective self-care. Your sad to hopeful mix or your anxious to calm sequence.
Like moving from Adele's Hello maybe towards Katy Perry's Roar.
Exactly, that kind of curated journey.
What about focus? Can music help us concentrate? I sometimes find it distracting.
It depends on the music and the task. For studying or deep work, instrumental music is often recommended: classical, ambient, electronic without lyrics.
Why instrumental?
Lyrics engage the language parts of your brain, which can interfere if you're trying to read or write. Instrumental music, particularly something like ambient or some classical pieces Mozart effect, is debated, but the principle holds: can help create a focused atmosphere, block out distractions, and promote that flow state. Even background noise like coffee shop sounds works for some people.
Finding your focus soundtrack makes sense. And beyond individual use, music is so deeply social.
Fundamentally social. It's a universal language, builds empathy, connects people across divides. Think about concerts, festivals, pure communal experience. It's also central to cultural identity. Music carries heritage, unites communities. And today, our playlists, personal ones, shared ones, are like digital extensions of our identity.
How so?
They signal who we are, what we value, how we cope. Sharing a playlist with a friend is a bonding act. It says, this is part of my inner world, maybe it resonates with yours too. It reflects our stories.
And this isn't new, is it? Music's role in community and healing goes way back.
Millennia back. Look at indigenous cultures worldwide. Music, drumming, chanting, specific healing songs is often integral to rituals for spiritual, emotional, physical well-being.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Think of the Baining Fire dance in Papua New Guinea drums and chanting used for purification. Or the Imbira music of the Shona in Zimbabwe, used to connect with ancestral spirits during ceremonies. Or the Sami Joik in Northern Europe, carrying personal and community stories.
So it's not just performance, it's function.
Deep function. It reinforces identity, bonds the group, transmits knowledge, facilitates spiritual connection. Music as a living archive and a tool for well-being, woven into the fabric of society.
From personal playlists to ancient rituals, it's everywhere. Okay, let's zoom in on the music itself. Classical versus modern music, they feel so different. How do they evoke emotion differently?
Great question. Structurally, they're often quite distinct. Classical music tends towards complex forms, sonatas, symphonies with intricate developments, usually played on acoustic instruments like orchestras.
Right, lots of layers.
Exactly. Modern pop music, rock, electronic, often uses simpler, more repetitive structures like verse-chorus. It frequently incorporates electronic instruments, synthesizers, drum machines, offering a huge range of textures, and it's often designed for immediate accessibility.
And how does that translate emotionally?
Classical music, often without lyrics, uses those complex melodies, harmonies, and dynamics. Think louds and softs to tell stories and convey nuanced emotions. It builds tension, offers release. It can take you on a real journey. Think Barber's Adagio for strings, pure emotional weight through sound. Plus, the history can add a layer of awe.
And modern?
Modern music often uses lyrics and more direct melodic hooks to target specific emotions, happiness, angst, love. Its structure can make it feel very immediate, very relatable. Cultural context and personal association play a huge role too. It reflects the now.
So lyrics make a big difference. How do lyrics and melody work together?
They're like an inseparable team, ideally. Lyrics carry the explicit story, the narrative. They engage our language processing, our memory. Melody provides the emotional color, the atmosphere. It uses pitch, rhythm, harmony to set the mood. Often the melody is what grabs you first.
And when they work well together?
You get thematic alignment, the music feels like the words, and good prosody, the melody fits the natural rhythm and stress of the words. When lyrics and music pull in the same emotional direction, the impact is much stronger.
Is there a difference in which emotions they're best at conveying?
Interestingly, yes. Some research suggests lyrics are especially important for conveying complex sadness. They seem to activate specific brain areas related to language and memory that sad instrumental music doesn't hit quite the same way.
So words help define the sadness?
It seems so. Whereas for happiness, the acoustic features faster tempo, brighter sound, major keys might be more dominant. Happy instrumental music can still produce strong emotional responses, perhaps more directly activating the limbic system.
That's fascinating. So lyrics add a specific semantic layer, especially for negative or complex emotions.
That seems to be the case. It highlights how lyrics provide cognitive anchors for the emotional journey the music creates.
Which brings us back to subjectivity. Does music contain emotion or just trigger it in us?
That's a classic debate. Some, like the composer Stravinsky, argued music is powerless to express anything on its own. It evokes feelings in us through learned associations, cultural conditioning, or maybe by mimicking the patterns of emotional expression, like vocal cries or laughter.
So the feeling isn't in the notes, it's in my reaction to the notes.
From that perspective, yes. It puts the listener's experience, your unique brain, memories, culture at the center. It's an interaction. Understanding that can be empowering, helping you figure out why certain music affects you the way it does.
So whether it's a Beethoven symphony or the latest pop hit, they offer different routes to emotional connection, both powerful in their own way. And we even see them blending now with classical remixes and samples.
Exactly, the lines are blurring. It's all part of the rich tapestry.
Reflecting on all this, it makes me think how songs really are like time capsules. You hear one, and you're not just remembering, you're feeling that past moment again.
It really resonates, that idea. It's like music taps into, I don't know, a piece of our soul, individually and collectively. I remember going through a tough time, and Hans Zimmer's Time from Inception.
Oh yeah, powerful track.
It just became this anchor, the way it builds, that feeling of striving. It wasn't just music, it was like a wordless companion, helping me navigate feelings I couldn't articulate.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
It gives voice to the voiceless parts of us. Whether it's feeling understood by a raw Kendrick Lamar lyric, or feeling that surge of pure confidence from Queen's Don't Stop Me Now, it connects us, even when we're alone with headphones on.
And it doesn't always have to be monumental. Sometimes it's the pure, simple joy, like with Jimmy and Can't Stop the Feeling, that physical manifestation of music's power, taking first steps. It reminds us we're all part of this bigger rhythm.
It really does. Music heals, empowers, transforms, connects us to ourselves and each other. It's just fundamental. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into lyrics that heal, the psychology behind music and emotion. Thank you so much for joining us. We really hope it's given you a fresh perspective on the soundtrack of your own life.
And hey, if you enjoyed this, please do like, share, and subscribe, or follow My Mind MashUps wherever you get your deep dives. We'd also love to hear your stories. How has music impacted you? What songs have been important on your journey? Let us know.
Definitely share your reflections. Until next time, keep exploring the amazing landscape of the mind and let the music keep moving you.
Stay curious, stay connected, and keep listening. You can find My Mind MashUps on Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and YouTube.